as well be a politician. I'm ready when you guys are. 1, 2, everyone ready? Okay.
Can't hear. We can't hear.
Who can't
hear?
Okay, let's sort that out.
Can you folks hear me?
We can hear you, Minister Dempster. We can hear Minister Haggie.
I can hear you, Lisa, and I can hear
good. Excellent, thank you.
the room.
Can you, Minister Dempster, can you hear me?
I can hear you now. Perfect, thank you. I couldn't initially.
Okay, thanks, everyone. I want to thank everyone for coming here this morning on fairly short notice. With me online, Minister Dempster and Minister Haggie. And with me in the room is Jamie Chippett, Deputy Minister from Forestry, and also want to welcome Chief Superintendent Pamela Robinson for being here today from the RCMP. Given the concerns we've heard from residents, especially evacuated residents, around the cause of the wildfire, it's important for her to be here today to provide some information to the residents. And of course, appreciate this is a very difficult situation and a very difficult time for residents impacted in the areas, and no doubt it is a very, very serious situation. I visited the school complex in Victoria yesterday, certainly had conversations with individuals there, heard their concerns, heard the stress in their voice, but also very pleased to see that people obeyed the evacuation order. They're safe. That's always the most important thing, is for people to be safe in these situations, as I've said. And unfortunately, I've had to say a few times over the past few months that the most important thing is people's lives. We can repair homes, we can replace homes, we can repair buildings, but we can't replace loss of life. So the most important thing, of course, is for everybody to stay safe. Want to make sure everybody knows that really all hands are on deck throughout this situation. Tremendous effort involving government and community partners, departments, certainly the pilots flying the water bombers, the dispatchers, Newfoundland and Labrador Health Services. I could go on and on. A tremendous amount of work and effort around the clock to deal with this situation. Right now, of course, crews from Forestry are mobilized and they're working to their full capacity at all times, as long as conditions permit that. We have requested assistance from the Canadian Interagency Forest Fire Centre. Yesterday, I do believe we were provided a bird dog from New Brunswick, so we thank our provincial partners for that effort right now. Our Provincial Emergency Operations Centre has been engaged, of course, and is working with the communities and all our community partners, and certainly want to thank the Canadian Red Cross and the Salvation Army, who are always there in these very difficult situations. So I want to thank them for their incredible work and their effort. I really want to make sure Newfoundlanders and Labradorians know that we're there to support them and we're working with them. But of course, I want everybody to exercise diligence when they're near or close by or in wooded areas in our province. It's no secret this has been an unbelievably historic dry season on the island, which is one of the major reasons we're seeing the abundance of forest fires. And we can't control Mother Nature, of course, but we can control what we are doing. So I really want everybody to be extra cautious during the remaining summer months. Be careful when you're operating things like ATVs or even chainsaws. This can start fires. Avoid having campfires at all times, and please avoid smoking and disposing cigarette butts or matches in wooded areas. I'll just provide some specific updates now on the 2 wildfires that we're focused on today. But just for a little bit of background too, we've had 192 fires already this summer. And that's been a total of 8,400 hectares burned in this province. Historic numbers that we are facing and that we've seen over the first few months of the summer. The wildfire status as of this morning, about an hour ago, in the Kingston-Adams Cove Small Point area. The very unfortunate situation is that we can confirm that we have lost some structures overnight, which really was not surprising given that the fire has tripled in size since last night to about 735 hectares right now. Forestry crews are holding the line. They were holding the line on the fire yesterday, but it did take off around 7:30 last night, and as I said, burned aggressively through the night, which led to the tripling in size. It did burn up along the areas of Adams Cove and Small Point, and as I said, the reports that we have can't confirm the numbers because it is still very smoky, but it's pretty safe to say we have lost some structures overnight. Today we anticipate that the winds will shift, but that continues to make it difficult, and it's an active fire. The winds are now blowing in the opposite direction, so the fire will go back and move from the opposite area where it was burning yesterday. 2 water tankers, the Bird Dog, and 1 helicopter are working this morning in the area, along with ground crews. And the focus today is on structure protection in the communities. And as well, there are suppression efforts on the south edge of the fire, which is along the highway towards, I think it's Percy's Cove and Victoria, to prevent southward growth. Again, I want to thank all the local fire departments for the work they're doing and the work they've done overnight to protect the homes that have survived throughout the night. As for the Holyrood fire, the wildfire had no growth overnight, and it's approximately 22 hectares in size right now. The water bombers and the crews just did an amazing job holding the fire yesterday. Today, ground crews will continue to work hot spots in the Holyrood area by helicopter bucketing, and we continue to make good progress on this fire. We are not aware at this stage of any structures lost in the area of the Holyrood fire. As I said, I was in Victoria yesterday. I want to thank Minister Jamie Korab, who's from that area. He is out there today meeting with individuals. I just want everybody to know that we are there for them, whatever they need. Even things like yesterday when I was out there, they had some difficulty with internet, so we've provided them with a Starlink system this morning. Little small things like that, I mean, they do go a long way. It's a very difficult situation to be displaced from your home, but Newfoundland and Labrador, the government is there for them, and we'll work through it, make sure you have a safe place to sleep and enough food to eat. So with that, I'm going to pass it over to Minister Haggie, our Minister of Public Safety, for some comments.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Premier. I think I'd like to start by echoing your comments of thanks with regard to local tanker crews from Gander, as well as the fire crews on the ground. This is hard work, it's difficult work, and particularly the ground crews, it's not very glamorous work, it's pretty dirty. So thank you to them. I think it's also important to notice that people are following the rules in terms of the evacuation, and that has been very helpful, and indeed it ensures your safety. We currently have about 290 households registered for a total of about 600 people. If you have left the communities under the evacuation order and have not registered, you should do so, even if you don't need the services that are being provided locally. The number is, as before, 729-0921, and that's staffed around the clock. We have been dealing, as the Premier alluded to, with speculation on various fronts. I mean, for example, on Facebook today, there was a story that there was a food challenge at Pasalvik, and that is not the case. We have checked with the Salvation Army and the Red Cross, who we contract to provide services for the first 72 hours of any such evacuation. They are doing that in the excellent way that they have done on previous occasions. So food is not currently an issue. The other speculation has been around the cause of these fires. And I think this has got to a fever pitch on social media. And it's with that in mind that we have invited Chief Superintendent from the RCMP to help address those concerns as can be best addressed at this. And so I'd take that opportunity to hand over to Chief Superintendent Robinson for an update from the RCMP point of view. Chief?
Thank you, Minister Haggie, and thank you, everybody, for this opportunity to connect and discuss our wildfire investigations. We understand that residents are feeling anxious. It's been a very challenging wildfire season. I want to assure you that active investigations into wildfires have been reported and are ongoing. During an active wildfire, the primary role of the RCMP is to implement safety measures that are implemented by a state of emergency. So this includes adherence to evacuation orders, road closures, and ensuring to help protect and maintain public safety. We work with our partner agencies to investigate fires when cause cannot be determined. I understand the frustration and anxiety that people are feeling, and I want to reiterate that we are actively investigating the fires that have been reported to the RCMP. I need to stress that we cannot investigate what is not reported. We've heard a few different numbers in terms of how many fires there have been, and it doesn't line up with the information that we are receiving in what has been reported to the police. So if you're able to extinguish a small brush fire, we still want you to contact the police to make a report on that particular fire. The reality of these investigations is that they are very complex. They take time. An investigation may also be delayed during an evacuation because it must be safe to re-enter to conduct that investigation. We are urging anybody with information about wildfires or suspicious activity to contact their local police department and make a report. This includes reporting any fires that you see, even if it's quickly extinguished. And if you don't report it, again, we cannot investigate it. Our communities are close-knit, and information and rumors can spread very quickly, which then, in turn, turn into fear and frustration. So I cannot stress enough the importance of reporting any information, especially in relation to the Kingston Adams Cove fires, to the Harbour Grace RCMP at 709-596-5014. And you can also share information anonymously through Crime Stoppers. But again, I would like to stress that the quicker you can report information to us, the quicker we can act to conduct those investigations. So please call if you have information.
Thank you. I'll ask Minister Dempster from the Department of Forestry for some comments.
Thank you, Premier. Good afternoon, everyone. So as the Premier stated at his opening, we are experiencing a fire season like no other. 192 fires compared to 58 up to this time last year. I do want to add, while we've lost much less in hectares, 8,000 this year, thereabouts, compared to 67,000 last year when we've had two really big fires in Labrador, we still know that the number of fires are placing a great stress on our community, on our services, on our environment. So that is why today I am implementing a fire ban for the entirety of this province. On September 7th, we will revisit the fire ban, and at that time, supported by the guidance of our fire behavioral specialist, our experts in fire, in forestry, wildlife, we will make a decision on September 7th whether or not that ban will be lifted at that time. And I just want to say to folks that even though it may be raining, or you might feel in your particular region there's not why would we do a province-wide fire ban? A province-wide fire ban helps reduce the risk of wildfires and supports our efforts of suppression. I also want to add that violating a fire ban can result in a fine of not less than $1,000. I have had some questions around last week when we lifted a fire ban that was in place. We made the decision last week to lift the fire ban due to a low fire hazard rating that was right across the province. And that was thanks to a lot of rain that we had had. This past weekend, the fire indexes have risen again for many parts of the province to very high and extreme. And while our own guidelines on fire hazard ratings is clear that when indexes are high, fires are banned, I want to ensure that everyone is aware right now that all open fires across Newfoundland and Labrador is banned. I would invite folks to visit the forestry website or the forestry social media site, where all information related to bans is clearly outlined. And I also want to encourage everyone in our province to follow the ban. It's not about, as I said earlier, what the weather is like in your area. It's about the impact that one fire can have when we are already fighting fires in other communities. I also want to remind people again, when drones are in the sky, we can't fly. So please note, no drones. I have also been receiving a number of questions and concerns about air quality. And while we have sites we can direct you to for air quality, I just want to let the viewers know that Dr. Fitzgerald will be hosting a media avail at 1 p.m. today on air quality. Thank you very much, Premier. I'll turn it back to you.
Thank you, Minister. So I'm going to make two quick comments following everybody's comments here this morning. And the most important part, obviously, the ban is in place throughout the province. Really, really want people to take this seriously, take the safety of not only themselves but their fellow community members seriously as well. And note that the RCMP has clearly advised there are active investigations ongoing into the cause of these fires. And I would ask people, please, to focus on, when you're getting your news and your information, to rely on government social media channels or RCMP social channels. I do appreciate that people can share information on social media like Facebook, and that can be very important. Maybe people are offering food or a place to sleep or or places to go. But rumors don't help the situation. So let's let the RCMP, Fire Commissioner, the government, NLHS do their jobs, and please follow them for specific information at this time. So we'll allow for any questions right now.
Chief Superintendent, you mentioned that the numbers don't line up of what you're hearing, say anecdotally, and what the actual numbers are. What are the numbers, and have you been able to determine the cause of any of the recent fires in Small Point, that area?
Because they are active investigations that are ongoing, I can't comment specifically on specific files because it is an active investigation. I can say that there's a number of different fires, both of criminal nature and non-criminal nature, that have been investigated and resolved throughout that area. In regards to the fires, we are getting reports of numbers that are reported on social media or reported within the community that aren't lining up with the fires that are reported in the Adams Cove, Broad Cove area.
Do you have a suspect? Is there anyone that you consider suspicious? And as you just said, criminal and non-criminal. Have you actually laid charges?
There's been no charges laid to date on any investigation, but there are active investigations. So again, we are encouraging anybody with any information, fire-related or suspicious activity-related, to contact the police department in your area and report that information.
Sorry, what was the timeline with the cases that have already been closed, the criminal and non-criminal investigations?
Well, we went back to the beginning of May 1st to date to look at fires within that area.
And are any of those suspicious?
There are active investigations. We're still trying to determine the cause of the fire in some occurrences. Human-caused fires doesn't always result in criminal charges. For instance, we had talked about an altering vehicle spark that may have initiated a fire after the fact. So we do look into the determination and look at all possibilities of cause of fire, and then identify if there is criminal charges or criminality associated to that investigation. So again, I can't stress enough, if you have any information, it's always worthwhile to please contact and report that information.
Just to go back just for a moment, have you determined specifically the cause of any of these recent fires?
We've determined the cause of some fires that have been not.
Examples of what might have caused them?
A chimney fire at a residence, a vehicle fire for an engine block. But in regards to wildfires, we still have active and open investigations that are ongoing.
In the area of Conception Bay North, when you say like investigations are ongoing, I don't know how much more detail you can give us, but like what does that look like on the ground? Like who's there responding to these this information that residents are providing to police?
So we investigate all fires in collaboration with our partner agencies. So that would be involvement with Fisheries, Forestry and Agriculture. Also currently on the ground investigating right now out in the Trinity Conception area. We have our Trinity Conception members, our East District General Investigation Team, our Major Crimes Unit, and our Tactical Support investigators that are supporting this particular occurrence.
What led you to believe it was suspicious? What was it about the fires that made you question about criminality?
All fires are investigated to determine the cause of fire. This is still an active investigation.
Premier, you mentioned off the top there were some structures lost. Can you tell us how many and what kind of the houses, cabins, businesses?
Yeah, it looks like definitely some houses. Don't really want to give too many numbers because we don't know exactly what it is, but you're looking at the neighbor of half dozen or so, give or take, okay?
And,
Yeah,
let me see, and 192 fires, is that the number you said today?
it is.
How does that compare with this moment last
I
year?
think Minister Dempster said it was less than 60, maybe 55, 58 or something
58,
like that.
58,
this
Premier.
time. Yeah,
So 58 compared to 192.
so almost, 3.5, 4 times as much.
When you're looking at the number of fires that are happening in the Adams Cove Small Point area around, in the similar area, they're happening little brush fires, like people have said, like 8 to 9 in the past few months, 3 of them now wildfires. Does this signify to you a pattern or a coincidence?
Again, it's all active investigation, so each is looking individually, and then if there's an opportunity to connect fires, we also look for those opportunities like we do in all criminal investigations. So again, if anybody has any information, again, I urge you to report that. No detail is too small, and it's unknown what could be the point to connect. So if you have information, please contact the RCMP.
I also have a question for Minister Dempster. A lot of people, whether they're cabins or homes, might not have insurance on their property. So when we say like human lives can't be replaced, but homes can, for a lot of people, they might be concerned that their homes or their cabins can't be replaced. They can't afford to. So for people who are afraid or who are in the threat of losing properties or have already lost properties, what communication is happening with people about what the government can do to help out in these instances?
Thank you very much for the question. So anytime in the past we've had fires and evacuations, our province have been there for people in terms of helping them get out, helping them get to safety. In terms of whether they have no insurance, I'm going to leave that question to my colleague, Minister Haggie, in Justice.
Currently, thank you, Minister Dempster. Currently, we follow the federal arrangements, the disaster financial assistance. They have fairly strict criteria, and we have, to this date, replicated that. And essentially, if the loss is an insurable one, i.e. you can get commercial insurance, then by and large, you are not eligible for any assistance from the federal government. And in the past, we have followed that. The issue around evacuation is we have a homegrown policy. Interestingly enough, we were going to announce it, I think, today or tomorrow, based on previous experience in Adams Cove and others. Obviously, we were trying to get it announced at a time when the option was fairly calm and there wasn't an ongoing fire. So that will come. And may actually be revisited. We may look at that to see if it needs tweaking before we finally release it.
I also would like to add here around some of the questions of suspect of fires, et cetera, that we do have increased patrols by our Resource Enforcement Division, and certainly our folks are collaborating with the RCMP on the investigation, but we've ramped up our patrols in that area. I want to say to the residents who are feeling some safety concerns right now.
Chief Superintendent, have you received specific tips about specific people that could be potential suspects?
I can't comment on that because of the active investigation.
Premier,
Oh, sorry.
In
No.
terms of, sorry, go ahead, Mr. Sorry.
Keith?
No, I was just we encourage tips though.
What kind of communication is happening? Like, I know we're in the heat of these 2 wildfires right now, but as you've said, 192, government is here when the wildfires are raging. But what's happening with the follow through when things start to calm down and the wildfires are either being held or under control? What what communication can people expect when they have questions from government?
Yeah, I mean, look, the lines of communication are always open. As you move through these disaster situations, emergency situations, you do go through a range of, I guess I'll say, emotions. You know, there's stress, there's a bit of anger last night when I was at the site. There's worry, there's panic, and then, you know, when you get through the real acute phase here, as we're going through right now, you sort of settle in and figure out actually what has happened and what you need to do going forward. And I think it's always important to keep lines of communications open throughout this entire process from start to finish. As we just think of one of the worst disasters, certainly we've seen, certainly what I've dealt with, the storm on the west coast in Port of Basque. I mean, we're still dealing with that situation. So it does take time, does take patience, and not to diminish people's feelings throughout that period, because there is a wide range of emotions. I mean, even last night when I was speaking to people, there was some people who were angry and upset and worried. Other people a bit more calm and just relieved that they're safe and their family is safe. And we support all those range of emotions and discussions as we move through this process. And we'll be there to continue to have those conversations.
Regarding resources, is there enough right now at this point, and at what point would you call for help?
You want to talk about the resources?
Sure. So we're pretty comfortable with the resources we have right now. We have 3 tankers and multiple helicopters that are being shared between the 2 fires, Holyrood and Adams Cove. There's about 50 kilometers in distance between those 2 fires, so they're being managed through one central incident command system in our Paddy's Pond Forestry office. We have contacted, as the Premier said earlier, the interagency corporation that we have a longstanding agreement with to put out interest in additional water bombers should they become available across the country. But Holyrood Fire is in really good shape, and we're bucketing that with a helicopter, so our resources are really focused on Adams Cove today.
What's been the most challenging part of all that?
Not really a challenge. Obviously, you need to make a call when there are 2 communities involved, but thankfully the distance between the 2 were very close, so we were easily able to share resources.
Weather conditions, what can you say, how has it fueled the fire in any way, Premier?
So as I said, the wind has shifted. I think it's going in the opposite direction today, so it will blow it back over where it has already burned. It can still burn beyond that, but that does provide a little bit of a natural fire break now, which is a good thing. Not to say it won't necessarily push through that and continue moving from where it came from and beyond. So that I don't think there's much rain in the forecast, which obviously is very unfortunate. But that's what the tankers are there for now, to kind of do the suppression and to get the fire departments on the ground to do some suppression as well when that's possible.
Do you have a timeline as to when you think, you know, I know it's
So
hard to tell.
it is hard to tell, and I can tell you, having been Minister of Public Safety and Minister and Premier, we've had incredibly close calls over the last few years, and I know Minister Dempster has texted me on occasion saying, I think we're going to lose communities and structures tonight, and we didn't. And things change in minutes. So, you know, we do go minute by minute here, and not just day by day. So, yeah, we can't really commit or comment on what we expect other than what we face with right here at this moment.
Just want to ask Mr. Dempster, the fire ban that's now blanket, is it until September the 7th? Is there anything that could change that? Nothing.
No, we're going to put that in place right now. I mean, a fire season like no other, and given the number of fires that we've had, we need to focus, even though we have a great relationship with, across with other jurisdictions through our interagency agreement that the Premier alluded to. And when resources are needed in one province or the other, we've always historically been there for each other. But when we look across, if you need to look no further than the evening news each night to see that many provinces are grappling with this. So we're going to make the decision right now that is best for our province. With regard to the direction that the fires were speaking about today, where they're going, I also want to tell viewers that we are doing some precautionary work to save some structures. You know, we've got guys out there today that are setting up sprinkler systems on lines and things like that proactively, and that we've had great success with some of the other fires that we have been fighting thus far this year. When we have done some preparation, we've been able to save it from spreading further, etc. So while we have tankers in the air, increased people on the ground, we're also doing some of that preventative work as well.
And just to talk about prediction, I mean, when we were looking at some maps this morning in the area of Holyrood, there was the fire was burning right towards the subdivision, literally jumped over the subdivision. It's like, how do you predict that? Save the whole subdivision just by stroke of, well, I'm not going to say stroke of good luck, because I think the fire department was on the ground doing some work. So thanks for that work. But yeah.
Even though we've had some rain that resulted in the fire ban being lifted, what's the difference? It's been an unprecedented season we've known that since before the rain. So what made the difference between putting it in place for sure, no questions asked until September, versus when the rain came? Why wasn't that decision made earlier then?
Would you like me to take that, Premier?
Sure, go ahead, Minister.
Yeah, thank you. So yeah, we never make those decisions lightly. For sure, I as a minister, while I might have the final call and my pen signs the proclamation, we look at a number of different things. Our wildfire management team, that includes fire behavioral specialists, they meet, they do a risk assessment, they determine that what available resources do we have right now, what's the current conditions, what's the forecast, and then we made the decision last week to lift it. But given that with the very high unprecedented number of fires that we've had, given that the conditions are dry, I had one of my fire guys tell me last week that, we'd had out in central, I think it was 40 millimeters of rain, and just within the next day, the ground was dry again. It just speaks to our winters are not as cold as they used to be. Frost is not going as far into the ground. And we know that residents in communities are in fear. They're in fear of losing their community, the monetary cost of losing structures, the mental strain that's on those people. So that's a role that we can play. I know people like to sit around and have a backyard fire, or it's a part of our culture. But I'm telling people, just for the remainder of the season and for the safety of everyone, have a beverage with your barbecue, and hopefully next season will be more kind.
And just on that comment on next season, though, and like, Newfoundland has been extremely dry this summer. Labrador was extremely dry last summer. We're fortunate that both haven't happened at the same time. But, again, maybe we won't be so fortunate next summer.
Mr. Dempster mentioned like sprinkler systems, trying to put things in place to save other properties or...
All the properties.
Right, yeah.
Yep.
Can you explain where that is? Is it largely residential areas? Are there any commercial properties nearby? Is there any cabin areas nearby?
You mean where the local fire departments are doing the work?
I'm just trying to get a good handle on what's nearby. Is this largely residential area? You said that the structures last night were homes.
Yeah, I think last night there was.
Is it nearby any cabin areas?
No, I mean these communities like Adams Cove. I mean this is not cabin country, but there, I'm sure there's some summer homes there, summer residential homes. But I mean it is a community where
so
people
these are
live and
other homeowners that are looking to.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I know the goal obviously is to douse all the fires there, but what is the primary focus right now? You said Holyrood is pretty much staying, under control, I guess. What is the focus right now? Which particular area?
Yeah, so the southern part of, and Jamie can correct me if I'm wrong, the southern part of the forest fire, we're calling it the Kingston Adams Cove Small Point. The southern part of that fire is where the bombers are focusing their efforts today, or this morning, and certainly we'll see how it goes, but that's where they are right now. Yeah.
Sorry, the subdivision you mentioned.
In Holyrood.
What subdivision was that? And were there people in the homes at the time, or were they all evacuated?
Yeah, go ahead.
I can take that. It's the Green Acres subdivision, and I think the RCMP had evacuated folks from that before the fire reached there.
I think it actually had jumped over transmission assets as well after it jumped over the subdivision.
Go ahead.
I mean, I know when the last Adams Cove fire back in May, when I visited the site after it had burned, people who had lawns, houses were saved because it had sort of just gone around the lawns, whereas people who didn't have the lawns, it just went right into the homes. I mean, it's amazing what these fires can do when you can't predict. I mean, we do have behavioral experts, of course, working around the clock to try and determine how they're burning and where we need to put our assets. But sometimes things happen.
Are we like analyzing or looking at like what meets the threshold for a fire ban? Like, is that potential to change like in the future? I know there's certain parameters that you have to follow.
I think these conversations are, having an unprecedented season. We have to look at everything. I've talked to fellow premiers from across the country, especially Manitoba and Saskatchewan. Their fire seasons are unbelievably devastating. Huge number of hectares burning in those provinces, and just having been with those premiers a couple of weeks ago, it was on the agenda for the premiers to talk as a whole. Is there a national approach that we need to take for these fires? Can we coordinate? Can we work together? I mean, we're certainly spearheading the Atlantic Wildfire Center here in Gander. That was certainly a good idea when it was announced. I think it's very, very clear. It's a great idea, and we need to move forward with it. And to have that expertise here in the province will certainly help us, and we'll be able to help our fellow provinces as well. But they're very, very important discussions that have escalated, I would say, not only the last year or two, but in the last 6 months.
Any concerns?
Premier, if I could just jump in, Premier, on the question that was asked earlier about where we're going and doing the sprinkler installations today, I can just provide some clarity on that, the sprinklers today are being placed near the structures in the Kingston area. So the Premier talked about our fire behavioral experts and the modeling that they do. So we look to see the direction the fire may be moving. So that's where the sprinklers are happening today, being installed.
Are there any concerns right now for transmission assets?
I mean, I wouldn't have, but there is always when we're going through the situation. It's not the first time I've been talking about transmission assets. And of course, there was concern last night about the generating plant, the power plant in Holyrood as well. But again, we're in a good place with that. That wasn't evacuated, and we're in a better place today than we were yesterday.
I'm not sure who this is for, but what's our water bomber assets like? What's that situation like these days?
Yeah, I know that we have 4, and 3 will be active throughout the day. One of them is looking for a replacement part, to get the 4th one active as well. Is that correct?
And also a 5th one being repaired too as well, yeah.
Evacuation processes, has that been going smoothly?
Yeah, I mean, yes, I think so. I mean, people have certainly obeyed the evacuation order. People have been compliant. I know there was long lines of traffic yesterday to try and get around in that part of the province, but certainly people have been very compliant. As I drove into the area yesterday, my phone went off with my emergency alert, which was good to see. We had some situations this summer where people haven't left, the entire community hasn't left. And of course, that creates risk then, because individuals like RCMP are going to go into the communities to try and get people to leave, and that puts more people at risk. So we do appreciate when people listen to the evacuation orders. They're not made without thinking about the situation, and when they're made, they're serious.
And is there potential for further evacuations?
Yes, I'm sure there is potential. And again, the evacuation warning first, and then the order if necessary. Okay, thanks, everybody.
And a final, Premier, did you want to say anything to the people in Newfoundland who are scared to death about their homes and properties?
Yep.
And what's to come for them?
I want to say I understand the fear. I understand the anxiety. We're right there with you. It's hard to ask for patience right now. And people I talked to last night, I said, I can't tell you if this is going to be a day or a week or longer. So just, we got your backs. We'll be there with you. Let us know what you need. Newfoundlanders and Labradorians have an incredible ability to help their neighbors. When I was leaving yesterday, one of the local councillors drove in and said he had just offered up his beds in his house. It's just amazing to see, right? So, yeah. Last thing I'll say, thanks to all the pilots and all the firefighters. I did say we were getting a bit lucky, but it's not all luck. It's the incredible work that people are doing to look after these structures, look after their communities. And when I was Minister of Public Safety, talking to volunteer firefighters throughout this province, I mean, they do everything in their communities. I mean, and they love their fire departments, and they just want to be there to help people, and I know they're doing great work, so thank you.